Good morning, guys. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. All the holidays. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Hell yeah. Before we get to LSU Auburn basketball this afternoon, can't get you out of here without getting some thoughts from you on that. Give me your impressions of Matt House being named new LSU DC by Brian Kelly. What were your what was your thoughts?
I really like the hire. I mean, first of all, Kentucky fans were really jumping at him to be brought back if LSU had hired Brad White, which I think says a lot as far as what people think of him and you know, the job he did setting up Kentucky's defense to be one of the better ones in the SEC, especially in terms of what they do with talent. Kansas City obviously won a Super Bowl the year prior, and he's got a Super Bowl ring with them, and
First
so he
interview
brings
done
that.
underwater.
Billy, hold tight. Let me get you in a better cell area. You're kind of popping in and out, and I want to hear everything that you have to say about Matt House. So let me see if we can't get him back into a better. Can you hear us, Bill?
He's totally gone now. That was on his way out.
You got me now?
Oh, got you, buddy. Hell of a comeback there.
Wow.
Hell of a
From
comeback.
the top rope.
Wow. All right, we
Took
think you
it
got.
off Wi-Fi, jumped on the cellular data. We're good now.
Okay,
there we
okay.
go.
All right. I knew there was something
There we
behind it.
go.
Pick up what you were talking about with House. Keep going.
Yeah, Kentucky wanted to bring him back if Brad White had left for LSU, which anytime you kind of look at these coaching hires, whenever, you know, and there's no data to back this up probably, but whenever a school is losing a coach, you could kind of tell ahead of time maybe how this one's going to go based on the reaction of the school. And I thought as Kentucky fans were watching the Brad White and LSU rumors that they were wanting Matt House back said a lot. He set up that defense to be one of the better ones in the SEC. And I think for LSU to bring in somebody that has SEC experience, has done more with less, realistically, with Kentucky, and then has a Super Bowl pedigree now with the Chiefs. He really has developed some, I would say, overlooked talent into being great players. Coach Aaron Darnold at Pitt, he just has a really good resume as far as being a really good football coach. You know, Brian Kelly tabbed Mike Elko at Notre Dame and got him, and he turned into one of the best defensive coordinators in the country and just took that Duke job. So I think as a recruiter, he's got the SEC experience. I wouldn't say he's been in a position to land some of those elite guys like we've seen, like LSU has the ability to land every year. But he's a really sound football coach. He's got multiple years of experience doing more with less, and I think that says a lot. And so it's kind of like Dave Aranda. You stick him with LSU talent and see what he can do. And Dave Aranda ended up being one of the best defensive coordinators in the country and becoming the Baylor head coach.
He passed on Auburn and Tennessee last season. Was he waiting for a big-time job to get back into college? Was he waiting on something, or did LSU lure him out of the NFL? What did you make of him getting back into college?
Well, I think one thing is just the brand of LSU. You know, Auburn was going through a transition. Tennessee is certainly going through a transition and could have, you know, the NCAA sanctions, so that might have played a part in it. You know, this is somebody that played for Nick Saban at Michigan State as well. So, you know, maybe a little bit of a Scott Woodward connection there as far as, you know, him and Brian Kelly working together on you know, who they can target, who they can throw a pile of money at. I'm sure he's going to be very well compensated. And this is, you know, one of the positions in college football that we've seen it. If you do a good job, you can parlay it into a head coaching job. You know, Dave Aranda did a really good job for many years and now has Baylor, you know, rolling in the Big 12. So I think Matt House is probably ready to be a head coach. He's got college experience. He's got NFL experience. I think his next stop, if he does a really good job at LSU, is being a head coach. And he's got the pedigree that, you know, you get a shout out from Tyrann Mathieu. I mean, that's no joke as far as the type of player or type of person you are and the type of coach.
You get any idea on Brian Kelly throughout this process? I know that he's kind of methodically and very strategically putting this coaching staff together on his own timeline, but have you heard anything about his recruiting ability to get these guys interested in these spots and being able to close these guys up? It seems like he's just kind of going down a list and filling these guys and checking them off.
Yeah, I think there are some like Frank Wilson that make a ton of sense, like legitimizing his ability to recruit in Louisiana. Brad Davis made a lot of sense, keeping him on board as offensive line coach. Terry Cooks has had a lot of experience in the SEC and across the country, with really strong results. And obviously, there's a lot of trust there between Brian Kelly and Kerry Cook. So you see a little bit of some connections at play here. And then with Brian Kelly, he's had a lot of the same staff throughout his career. So, once a lot of those guys stayed at Notre Dame, he had to go outside the box and really, I think, look at his list and say, okay, where can I go and find the best guys available? And often, when you target certain coaches and maybe they say no, I mean, we don't really know exactly what happened with Brad White and LSU, but, Brian Kelly probably picked his brain. So, okay, all right, if you're not going to be the guy, who are some guys that maybe you think, and just picking the brains of people across the country can usually lead to a really good hire. We'll see if Matt House is that for LSU. A lot of people are high on the hire, and like I mentioned, Tyrann Mathieu scouted him out. But as far as building the staff overall, I think there are people that he's waiting for to make decisions. Matt House was one of those coaches that he, even last week before Christmas, Matt House broke as the guy that LSU was targeting once Brad White left Baton Rouge following his interview. And, that really didn't change over the course of the holidays, and we didn't hear anyone else pop up. I think there were some rumors here or there that maybe over Christmas some people tied themselves over with, but Matt House, as far as being heavily reported, that was the guy. And with the Chiefs still in the playoffs, he's going to coach out through the rest of the season. Maybe he's targeting an offensive coordinator off of one of the college football playoff teams. Denbrock over at Cincinnati, Mike Denbrock, the offensive coordinator there, has been with Brian Kelly in the past, and that's a name that's been floated and has been targeted, and we haven't really heard much on the offensive coordinator search outside of that. And that makes me believe that maybe come New Year's Eve or January 1, we might be able to hear something on that front, if it is indeed Mike Denbrock, because all is quiet on the offensive coordinator front. It would make a lot of sense for Mike Denbrock to be the target, and then once Cincinnati's done playing, they can go from there and really try to approach him and see if he's interested in coming if that's the case.
You get an idea of what present day is like around LSU football right now, with practice going on the Ponderosa, coaching staff trying to build and get a firm grip on what they're going to look like, recruiting still in high speed and still trying, searching the portal, keeping guys out of the portal. Do you get an idea of what life is like around the LSU football program right now?
They're in the tough spot of having to play January 4th. I mean, that's tough. So you have to give the guys off for the holidays, and with the COVID cases shutting down a few bowls, I think there's certainly some worry that maybe LSU might be in that boat. They're going to be testing players, throughout the week and see where they're at numbers wise. The way this thing's going, it wouldn't surprise me if there was a positive test or a few of those, and then that puts things in a precarious spot for the Texas Bowl. But on the bright side, the CDC changing that to the 5-day isolation and testing and all of that, maybe that changes how they approach the bowl game as far as what to do if they do get positive tests and things like that. There's around 50-something scholarship players available, and so they really don't have much margin for error. But the players just got back on Tuesday. The staff's been back since the beginning of the week, back at work. The portal's going to be big overall. The portal's going to be a long, long process. And then there's no on-campus visits until January 13th, and that also really lines up with the end of the coaches convention. We'll see, the college football season be over. Maybe Matt House is making his way down to LSU if the Chiefs are done playing. Some of those things will come together, and I think Matt House will be working on his staff a little bit more and trying to finalize that. But for now, it's really the new coaches and the ones that are retained working together on recruiting as best they can. The current coaching staff that's in place is going to coach out this bowl game, and there's a lot of GAs involved and analysts being promoted and things like that. But they're going to get back at it this week and really start bearing down on Kansas State as best they can.
Seems like Brian Kelly and I guess now Matt House will have a chance to, but they've made a really good impression on Jacoby Matthews, right?
Yeah, Jacoby Matthews is kind of a mystery of what he's going to do this weekend at Under Armour All-American game. He originally said he was going to commit January 2nd. He was kind of touch and go as far as if he was going to follow through with that. And even if he did, he said he wanted to take official visits. You know, he had to back off taking that Alabama visit with the state championship game. Texas A&M is still heavily in the mix here. It wouldn't shock me at all if he ended up at LSU, Alabama, or Texas A&M. And even if he makes a decision on Sunday, he could end up still taking visits because from what I've heard, he did not sign during the early signing period. And, you know, Florida's now in the mix as well with Corey Raymond over there. So there's a lot of play with Jacoby Matthews. And then Harold Perkins is another one that's set to announce this weekend as well.
Is LSU should they expect any surprises with All-American games on the horizon?
I think a nice surprise would be Jacoby Matthews committing, quite honestly. Just the way he was kind of not standoffish, but, you know, non-committal as far as his plans to commit. So if you wanted to make a decision, that'd be big for LSU if he did jump on board. I don't have much confidence at all in Harold Perkins at this moment ending up at LSU, but that's one of those ones that, you know, the way it's kind of gone, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he ended up at LSU, at, you know, Texas or Texas A&M. I mean, that's just kind of how his recruitment's gone. We've heard all these rumors here or there of, oh, is he going to commit? Is he going to make a decision? You know, in the fall, he even admitted he was close to, you know, the decision, but ended up, you know, going through with the January 2nd commitment date. And this is one where, you know, you could get surprised by, but I think Texas A&M holds a lot of confidence, and so maybe just a little bit of you know, hold out a little bit of hope, but I'm not too bullish on LSU's chances there.
LSU basketball will be the centerpiece of the college basketball world this afternoon at 6 o'clock when they travel into Auburn Arena and tip it off versus War Eagle. This is a top 16 matchup on paper, but feels like a top 10 matchup in real-world college basketball. How do you like LSU, who's undefeated, going into an 11-1 hostile environment against Auburn this afternoon?
Yeah, this is one of those games that you're glad that arenas are full and college basketball and that environment is back. One thing for LSU, Tari Eason has a chance to really, you know, shoot himself up draft boards today. He's expected to be back from what we've heard, which would be a huge boost. He had that back injury, and he's going to be ready to go. This is kind of what LSU's been building towards, right? This is this is where the defense can shine if they are who they've played like they are. Analytically, they're one of the best defenses, if not the best, in college basketball. And this is a great chance to prove it. Jabari Smith Jr., former 5-star, is an elite player. That'll be a heck of a matchup watching Darius Days and probably Tari Eason and Ethan Reed go against him. He's super athletic. He's a problem. This is a game that, you know, when Will Wade took over, he you know, in the first couple of years, especially as he was building, these are the type of games that LSU, you know, wants to be playing. You know, you come to LSU to play games like this, and that's what I'm watching the most tonight as you know, they take on Auburn. That's a really tough place to play, but, you know, both teams are really, really skilled. I think we're in for a treat tonight, no matter how it ends up.
247 Sports is the website. Go 247. Billy Embody's got some great write-ups over there, including some draft previews, or excuse me, some bowl previews between LSU and Kansas State, and a really nice, in-depth, informative article about Matt House, who was just named LSU's defensive coordinator by Brian Kelly officially on Monday. Great work as always, Bill. Enjoy the new year. We'll be touching in soon. Thank you, and have a good one.
Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate you having me.
Always. There is Billy Embody